Everyone wants to take their business, their skills, to the next level. Small and mid-sized business owners have exceptional insight into how to do this. They endure and thrive because they find ways to overcome the challenges that come their way, and they can teach us valuable lessons to apply to our own companies and lives. Stephen Nooner, founder and owner of Alkali, a company with a unique process that helps businesses more effectively buy and manage their insurance programs. And Bob Gibbons, builder of Riata Commercial Realty, a real estate advisor and tenant advocate, are two prominent Metroplex businessmen who, along with their weekly guests, will ask their and your probing questions, finding impactful solutions that will help you reach for the next level. Here are your hosts, Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons.
Welcome to The Next Level, Conversations that Propel Business. This is your host, Bob Gibbons.
And I'm Stephen Nooner.
Thanks for joining us this week. As you'll remember, our show is all about honoring the entrepreneurial community by acting as a catalyst for personal and professional growth within that community, and we're glad you're here to sharing that with us today. We have a great guest, and we're ready to get going. But before we do that, we always start off with something interesting, a quote or something positive. So, Stephen, what do you got for us today?
Well, I really liked our guest's quote. And it is from Sarah Blakely, CEO of Spanx. Love saying the name of that company.
What are Spanx?
Don't act like you don't know.
Okay.
And the quote was, "Failure is not an outcome. Failure involves a lack of trying."
That is such an indicting statement because it basically says you have no excuse. It all lands back at you.
Or maybe that it's meaningless and that the not trying in and of itself is the failure.
Ah, all right. Now you're sounding like Solomon. Chasing after the wind.
That's right. Well, I'm really excited because we've got a great guest today. I want to introduce my friend and next guest. Terry Pham is one of the most humble, generous, and authentic people I know. And so I'm really excited to have Terry here. He is the founder of Fat Straws. Fat Straws serves bubble tea and bubble beverages featuring the sip and chew novelty of tapioca pearls. If you have not tried one, it's slightly addictive.
Sip and chew.
Sip and chew.
That's going to require some explanation.
You got to have a Fat Straw, yes. Fat Straws has 15 full-time team members and about 10 to 15 part-time. And they've been in Dallas and in business for 13 years with locations in West Plano off Park and a location near the Galleria. If you want to learn more about Fat Straws, visit fatstraws.net. And that's fat with an F-A-T, not a P-H-A-T. Fat. Welcome, Terry.
It's great to be here.
Thank you for being with us today. So we want to start off with something, gratitude-oriented. So what are you grateful for today?
Wow, there's so much to be grateful for. Definitely grateful for family. This morning actually was really great. We got to walk the kids to school. It's about a mile walk, and we decided to leave a little too late, so I got to sprint across the neighborhood with my kids this morning. But watching them run in front of me today was just amazing, and watching the little girls, I know they're going to grow up really fast, so just kind of appreciate that moment, seeing them run off to school and being able to walk with them this morning.
So that brings us actually to our first question, Terry. Which child is your favorite and why? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding, sorry.
Depends what day. Depends what day.
Depends on which one's listening.
That's right.
But seriously though, you guys have an interesting business. I have to say I've seen bubble tea for years and years and just recently have tried it. So for guests that are slow on the uptake like me, let's start there. What is bubble tea?
Sure. So bubble tea actually is an Asian dessert drink. It started in Taiwan in the 80s. And so what these vendors would do is they were basically competing for kids after school money. And what they would do is they would set up these tea stands outside the schools, and it's obviously very warm. It's a very warm climate there in Taiwan. And so they would serve iced tea. It would be tea sometimes served with milk or sugar or fruit juice, and they would shake the tea and get everything to mix in like a cocktail shaker. So once you shake everything with ice and you serve it, there's a froth that's formed from shaking it, and that's when kids kind of started calling it bubble tea. So what one vendor did to differentiate himself from the other vendors is he started to add tapioca to his tea and served it with a really fat straw. And that's how we came up with the name for our company.
Love that guy.
And so it caught on like wildfire. And I think the story is within a matter of about a year, he had, dozens, if not hundreds of stands across Taiwan. And it really caught wildfire and kind of hit the West Coast here in the States in the 90s. But it wasn't really a very popular or prevalent concept here in Dallas. And so that's where we saw an opportunity to introduce that to the mainstream market here.
So how did you get that started? What did you do, and what did you leave to get it going?
So I had an IT career. I'd worked for the Belo Corporation and also worked at Pro Systems at the time. I'd been married a year, and I decided to just dive in head first. Didn't really even know what I was getting into, but my mindset was, look, if I'm going to take a stab at something entrepreneurial, now's the time. I think the only thing to my name was a car. We were renting an apartment. We didn't have any kids. And so I figured if I was going to fail and fall flat on my face, now would be the time to do it because I still had time to recover.
So you've been married a year and you come home and say, honey, guess what? Good news. We don't have any income.
Absolutely. So I quit my job. And it's a funny story because my wife she was actually working at Pro Systems as well. And she would leave her job and then come and change, put on a Fat Straws t-shirt, put on a cap and suit up and help me work at night. So I would work all day and she had 2 jobs. And we did that for a couple of years. And it was quite an experience, just being there that long.
So how did you differentiate yourself from, let me ask this first. Are there other bubble tea people in the Dallas area?
There are.
How do you differentiate yourself?
I think a lot of them are definitely like Asian cater businesses, but really like for me, what I've became passionate about in my business is really the relationships with the customers and the relationships with the staff. That's something I'm really passionate about. It's just building community, building relationships. And, it was something remarkable to see with my staff is have customers bring, like one of my employees was pregnant and a customer would bring like a baby shower gift.
That's cool.
We get Christmas cards, we get, graduation cards. Who I don't know about you guys if you're giving gifts to your local Starbucks barista, but that's the kind of relationship we have with our customers. These are people, you see every day, and strangely, we were able to develop some type of intimate relationship through that interaction.
So is there coaching or training, or how do you get the young, I've been in your stores, young individuals to get that mindset, or is it something you're screening before they come in? Yeah.
Well, there's a few things we do. Part of it is the hiring process and screening. Initially, we would go through a lot of, I would say, boilerplate type of interview questions, and I noticed I wasn't very successful with that. And so I just took a different approach where I really wanted just to know the individual. And something actually I learned at Pro Systems, Ross Pro used to always say, you can always hire and train someone's skills, but you can't teach someone integrity. You can't teach someone character. And so for me, it was really important to get to know the individual. So oftentimes when we do interviews, we just ask someone I want to hear your story. I know you're probably uncomfortable, you're nervous, you're trying to put on your best face, but I just want to get to know you and know that we can have a working relationship together. And that usually sets the tone, and then we talk about what our culture is about. And then they're having an opportunity to kind of buy into that, and it's kind of a different
select
approach.
In or select out.
Absolutely.
So in bubble tea, are they pretty much the same formulas, or is this something that you get off the shelf? And so if I go into your bubble tea or somebody else's bubble tea, I'm going to see the same product?
Well, one of the things we do, we actually have a partnership with Art of Tea, and they're our supplier for loose leaf fair trade organic tea. So we start with really great quality. This is handcrafted, hand blended, single sourced organic teas. And then a lot of our drinks we came up with on our own. It's a lot of experimentation, a lot of fun. I think for the first 2 weeks, I probably didn't eat much when we opened the store because I was just experimenting, and I would make a smoothie or I'd make a drink and I'd drink it. And
can you OD on tea?
Yes, you can. I did. Absolutely, yeah. But definitely a lot of experimentation. A lot of great drinks even come from within the company. Kids who are working there, they'll play around with recipes, and a lot of our seasonal drinks have come from the staff themselves.
That's cool. What's the biggest challenge you guys are facing right now?
I think trying to grow staffing is always a big issue. by the nature of our business, a lot of our employees are younger, they're transient, they're high school or college age. So it's tough to find long-term tenured people who want to like be part of our company. And that's something we're really working towards. So it's kind of like you need to grow in order to have a established career path for people to see like I can be here for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to grow, you need people. So it's this kind of revolving door. You have to really work to find talent, recruit talent, and really grow your business in order to have a place for them to be in the long term.
All right, now I've worked retail, and I worked at a Haagen-Dazs ice cream store in San Francisco after high school, so I never thought about that
He's
place.
a lot heavier then.
They did let us eat all we wanted, whether we were on working at that time or not, but I never thought about a career path in that kind of a job. So that's what you're saying you're trying to find and create?
Absolutely, yeah. We have to, and that has to come from being able to have more locations, more opportunities, but it's really about the culture. And do you want to be a part of a company that values its people, that we really are passionate about relationships and building community? And so that's what we're trying to align ourselves with, people who really care about those things. And what we found is that people who have stayed for a really long time, that's something that they just love. They love that interaction that happens across the counter, being able to sometimes not know someone's name even, but to have conversation with them every day. And that's something that's really special, I think.
I know we've talked about this a little bit, but if you wouldn't mind sharing, I mean, because I think it's worth sharing. What's the scariest risk that you've had to take in your business that you thought was a really huge risk at the time, but ended up not being what you thought?
I would say actually opening the second location. That was in the height of the recession. So to have ironically, I actually had 2 leases signed at the same time. We were going to open 2.
Oh.
And I actually ran out of money because that was when construction costs were at their highest.
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 leases going, and right when we opened, the recession hit. We had basically had a dark center, and I was wondering if I was going to have to, file for bankruptcy and shut down. I was able to have a discussion with the other landlord, and they actually released us of the lease. And that was really just kind of a miracle that happened. That usually doesn't happen, but he was a private owner, and he said, no need to squeeze a dry lemon. Maybe we can work this out in the future, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And then just working with the landlord and trying to get through the challenge of opening a retail business in a dark center in 2008. So
that is amazing, because you're right. Most landlords won't let you out, but at the same time, if he knows that he's going to have to give an allowance for improvements and pay a commission, and then you fail after you open, he's going to be out a lot of money.
Absolutely.
So, kudos to him for having that foresight and not just trying to nail you to the wall.
Sure.
Hope that pays forward back to him. It wasn't
expected.
Thing. Yeah.
That was a very sleepless night before meeting with him and basically having to say, I know I signed this lease, but I can't move forward with this project. And having him just be very gracious about that was really just kind of an amazing thing to happen.
That is amazing. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk to our guest, Terry Pham, a little more, and we're going to find out how he overcame his 2 top leaders in the company leaving at the same time and how he overcame that situation. We'll be back in a few.
And now, Confessions of a Recovering Landlord.
This is Bob Gibbons with Riata Commercial Realty, and I am your recovering landlord. After 20 years as a landlord, I now use that experience only for the benefit of companies that lease or buy office buildings and warehouses. Today's confession: never exercise your renewal option. Now, I know that sounds crazy, right? Why would you get a renewal option if you don't ever plan to use it? Well, a renewal option is really just a reservation for your space, which prevents the landlord from leasing your space out to someone else, leasing it out from under you. Some options actually bind you to an extended term before you even know what the rental rate will be. But that rental option was created 3, 5, or even 10 years ago when you signed your lease and may not work for you today. Fortunately, there is an easy way to renew your lease without the risk of exercising your renewal option. To learn what that is, please contact me at www.texastenantrep.com. Again, that's texastenantrep.com.
Want to create a breakthrough in your business or personal life? Here's a tip. Stop shopping for insurance and insurance agents. Begin looking for a way to more effectively buy and manage your insurance. At Alkali, that is exactly what we provide. The freedom you create by changing this mindset alone will make an impact. Plus, you can stop listening to all the insurance commercials on TV and radio, unless they're funny, of course. Are you an insurance novice or just want to take things to the next level? Knowledge is power. Come join us for the single most important class that you never took in business school. We have the following upcoming classes that we teach through Collin College and the Small Business Development Center. Thursday, September 24th, Protecting Your Business 202. Thursday, October 15th, Healthcare Reform. What the health is going on? Thursday, November 19th, Protecting Your Business 101. To sign up or learn more, visit us at alkaliservices.com. That's Alkali, A-L-K-A-L-I, services with an S.
My name is Terry Pham, and I'm the CEO of Fat Straws, and I'm taking my business to the next level in spite of my time with Bob and Steven.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Next Level, Conversations That Propel Business. We are here with our special guest, Terry Pham, President and CEO of the deliciously addictive Fat Straws. If you want to learn more about Fat Straws, please visit them at fatstraws.net, and that's fat with an F-A-T.
What does it mean when it's a P-H-A-T?
Well, that's for another show.
That's for a younger
Another
person.
audience.
Okay, all right, I'm too old for
Which
that.
is actually a tweeted question. You had a question tweeted in by your employees. They wanted to know, East Coast or West Coast rap, which one would you prefer? I'm just kidding.
Well, actually, you could probably say West Coast.
West Coast. All right, there it is.
All right, again, I'm too old. I didn't even know there was a difference.
Well, you at least you impress us with your
At
technology.
least I know what
Bob.
to do on YouTube this afternoon.
Yes. Don't watch it with Jan.
Okay, so we're going to jump into the Wheel of Life.
The Wheel of Life. So what we're going to really do is get into highs and lows, Terry. So if you were to look back over the last year and you were to say what was the most significant or important thing that would be a high, what would you say it'd be?
Definitely the last year was we moved into a new home. We built a house. It was a year-long process.
Congratulations.
And what made it really special is just being in a neighborhood that reminded me of how I grew up. So the neighborhood we were in before, a lot of older people. My kids didn't have friends. They didn't really run around the neighborhood. And now my kids walk to school, they ride their bikes, there's friends everywhere. Kids are coming all the time, knocking on doors and asking if someone can come out and play, and really just to have a community. My son, one day, early on when we moved in, we got a text from another parent and said, hey, I see Tyler, he's over at the 7-Eleven. And I said, oh, he shouldn't be over there. And I said, which one? He says, I said, it's the one over on Custer. He says, no, it's the one across 75.
Oh.
And so him and a couple of friends had walked over there because he wanted to get some candy. And I asked him, I go, why did you go to that one? That one's so much further. You had to cross the freeway. I was like, well, they have better candy over there. but that was really cool, just to have a parent like looking out. So
Yeah.
you know, they say it takes a village to raise a child.
It's a community.
And having someone text and just say, hey, I saw your kid, thought you wanted to know. I wasn't sure if he should be all the way over across the freeway.
That's great.
But yeah, just being in that neighborhood has been really amazing, and just our lives have been transformed by being over there.
All right, so early on you said that family was a really big thing for you, and now you've mentioned that your high is moving into this new neighborhood. So obviously family's a big deal. That seems very much at odds with the business you're in, because my experience was always that people that do what you do work 24 hours a day almost,
Certainly.
and had no time for their family. So how do you balance that?
That is a challenge. I would say, our company is another family as well, and I think that is one of our one of the big things that our company really is passionate about. So I have, thankfully, other people who have families that work for me in high positions, and there's kind of this understanding of work-life balance and trying to make sure that is a priority for us. So I make sure that they're able to be home with their kids and have dinner. They're able to and retail's tough because weekends, that's when we're rocking and rolling.
Oh, and the holidays.
So that's something that we were just really mindful of, is just trying to make sure that people get enough time with their families. Because if our business is taking away from that, it's not going to be sustainable in the long run.
So you just do strategic staffing for that then, in regards to when people are working so they can get those breaks? Or?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Let's kind of shift gears a little bit. What about over the last year? What would you say be your biggest low?
I had actually, so there was a couple that worked for me. One of them had started with me when she was in high school. Went to college, decided that wasn't her thing. She came back and ended up running one of our stores. And then she actually met her husband at Fat Straw. So it was our first Fat Straw.
You just said you guys were a family, though.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
So,
Organically.
Yeah. So that was pretty amazing. We actually going to the wedding and having practically the whole company there to celebrate with them. But that they met at Fat Straw.
Did you shut down the Fat Straw stores for that wedding?
We had some people who didn't come, so we were still able to stay open. But
But that had to been tough.
yeah, it was. So, but they ended up eventually. Both of them got to the position where both of them were running each of the stores, and they decided around the same time they wanted to move away to Seattle. So I realized I had not really planned I had never imagined losing two GMs at the same time. And it really identified a weakness for me that I had really no succession planning in place and who was going to take their place. So I lost two GMs and then had to bring in two GMs from outside because I had no one else underneath them really ready to take their place. And that was just a really big challenge, training two people from outside the company who didn't know tea from coffee and just really having to do a fast track and have them learn everything in such a short time.
So what have you changed in your business to prevent that in the future?
So what we did, I actually went and actually created a career path, and I pulled out the org chart and realized it was kind of a mess. So I cleaned up the org chart and I actually set metrics for each position. So now what we're trying to do is actually show people there's an established career path, and then encouraging people who maybe had just been complacent for a long time to get outside their comfort zone and try and move up into another position and cross-train. And so now we basically have people in the queue waiting to take anyone's position if anyone's to walk away.
So, and backing up just a minute too to what you said earlier, you said that culture was really, really important. You have to bring in two new people that you're putting in leadership positions. So we spend tons of time right now in our company constantly. Culture is huge, right? To who we are. What do you do? I mean, how did you handle that? Because you could probably, if they're smart and they're capable to be in that position, how do you fast track culture? Because sometimes that takes a while to take root into the soul.
It does, and actually one of them, it didn't work out. We ended up parting ways after about 4 or 5 months, and I had to promote someone else. But we actually use an analytics tool, a behavioral analytics tool called Culture Index. And what that does is it helps you identify certain profiles or personalities that would be a good fit. And then if you look at your org chart, each position, you fill out a separate type of survey that identifies who will be optimal in any given position. So any position that, say, touches someone on the org chart, those people fill out a survey, and that generates another profile for that position. So, for example, like an operations director, you're able to identify who's going to be most successful in this role. And then what we try and do is try and hire and match people for those roles. And that really helps identify if they're going to be successful in the role, if they have kind of an innate sense to be able to handle whatever the job demands of them, as opposed to trying to fit, a square peg in a round hole all the time.
Does that impact does it impact the tracks that you allow them? So, hey, I've got a culture index score of this. Is this my destiny? So that path is no longer, because it's not.
We don't pigeonhole people that way,
right?
Because I think that culture index is really more of a self-awareness tool. And so I think it gives us huge value because we understand how they communicate, what their motivating needs are, what their organizational style is. And then it gives them value as well, because then they have a self-awareness tool, and then we're able to communicate much more effectively with each other. I'll give you an example with my operations director. She's more introverted, and she prefers me to email her and give her lists. Whereas I'm much more of a verbal processor. I would just pick up the phone and call her and just like to talk about things. And I'm looking for feedback and maybe even validation. And she's just listening to me really intently. And then she would just say, I'm thinking. And so what I realize is, again, like how I communicate with her and how we communicate with each other, we're both able to communicate more efficiently, but also get more value out of the relationship.
Okay, but the real most important question is, do you allow your employees to date each other anymore?
You know, we try not to. We kind of frown upon that, but it's inevitably the nature of what happens. I think people work closely together, and I think, you know, it just tends to happen. And
Yeah.
you know, it's really something that's difficult to suppress, I would say.
Early on in the business, we had an opportunity, someone that would have been potentially a good fit, and it was their spouse of someone, and I played that out in my head, and I was like, oh, you know, it's a tough one to go through.
Sure.
So thank you
Sure.
for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Where, you know, I mean, you have a busy family, right?
Mm-hmm.
New digs, new house, new community. Busy life. I know that you're on the board of Entrepreneurs Organization. I mean, you, like I said, you're very generous with your time. Where do you have to work hardest to stay on track?
I think because I'm generally a relational type of person,
Mm-hmm.
I probably tend to get a little bit more off track with sticking to lists and goals. I tend to like to I like to get involved in process and in the process and the journey with things, and sometimes not necessarily with a goal in mind. And as you know, the CEO of the company, I need to always make sure that the north is really clear and that my vision is really clear and well communicated. So that's probably an area I tend to struggle with most, and that's where I tend to get in my own way sometimes. I can mull over decisions a little bit too long, instead of just, sometimes done is better than perfect, and I need to kind of stick with that a little bit more.
So what are the three biggest insights that you think that you've developed over the life of your business?
I would say definitely never stop learning. I really love growth and learning, personal development. You know, something we talk about in EO a lot is if we continue to work and improve ourselves, that will make us better leaders, we'll be better husbands, we'll be better fathers. And so having that holistic view of just continuing to grow and learn is really huge. And definitely building and maintaining culture in our company, because that's kind of what separates us from anyone else. I think what separates us from any other retail organization, and it's part of the draw of why people want to come to Fat Straws, be part of Fat Straws, because you know, people can get tea, people can get products everywhere, but where can you get that relationship? And I think that's what really makes us stand out from other companies.
And you can feel that, by the way, when we go in there.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
That's what's really important.
So Terry, if we look 3 years into the future, and you're very successful, what will you have accomplished to be successful?
That's a great question. I think first and foremost, hopefully I'll have raised some, you know, a great family and spend some really great time with my family and my kids. I think that's number one, because if I spend a lot of time trying to grow and build this company and I lose my family in the process, I think that's a failure for me. So having that balance is really key.
Mm-hmm.
And then to continue to nurture and grow the company. We've taken a little bit more of a conservative approach and try to grow organically, but we're actively looking for more locations right now. And again, if I can continue to grow and develop the staff and really create a place that people can say I can have a career here, a long-term career here, then I think that's a success.
Are you going to grow with franchises or with company-owned stores?
I think we're going to stick with company-owned stores first.
More control?
I think for control, but also my experience with franchises, and I've had friends who've done franchise organizations as well. I think they tend to, there's sometimes a competing ideal of like, I'm an owner, but then I'm constricted.
Who do you serve?
Right?
Okay.
Well, Terry, I just want to thank you again so much for your time. I'd like to thank the audience for tuning in as well. You guys have been listening to Conversations that Propel Business. The Next Level is the name of the show. And we've been with Terry Pham at Fat Straws. If you want to learn more about Fat Straws, please visit fatstraws.net. And please visit nextlevelshow.com. Bob does it again. We got 2 shows in a row where you can listen to prior recordings. It's up now. Facebook, Twitter, you can follow us there. Please, if you know and are enjoying what you're hearing, please share the word.
See you next week.
Have a good one.
You have been listening to The Next Level, Conversations that Propel Business with Stephen Nooner and Bob Gibbons. Join us every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. for more prolific conversations that will take your business to the next level.